Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. The Dean is back. Yes, Bill Kurelic returned from his sojourn down to pseudo-Atlanta, lakefront property. He'll tell you all about it. Mark Porter's here too, and we will get down to business on Cruton. I'm sure we know who you guys are going to want to talk about. But here's what I want to talk about, and that is HelloFresh. We've had a lot of sponsors here on the show. This was one I was extremely excited about. I'd never really done we did the factor meals, right, where you just pop them in the microwave, but I'd never done the HelloFresh where they send you most of it, and then you got to get your chef on and see what you can do. And I will tell you something. It went really, really well. They sent the farm fresh pre-portioned ingredients. There's some very cool recipes. It came in an ice pack giant cooler. It was awesome. It's probably why it's America's #1 meal kit. Lots of flavors to explore too. I mean, there was a menu of 50 recipes to choose from. We got to pick them out. Pick out your meals and your delivery date. It's that simple. And they've got all kinds on there. I know everyone there's your quick and easy types. There's the vegetarian. There's family friendly. There's all that kind of stuff. So it was really, really good. And I'll tell you what, it did not take as long as I thought. I don't sometimes have this cooking skills, but it was really, really good, man. And it was fresh. And all they ask you to have is the basics like butter and olive oil and stuff like that. And they have a great deal going for you right now. You get free breakfast for life if you go to HelloFresh.com/free Bucknuts. One free breakfast item per box while your subscription is active for life. Free breakfast for life just by going to HelloFresh.com/free Bucknuts. So you'll want to do that and you'll be hooked. Speaking of being hooked, he's back. The Dean. Bill Kurelic is back. Mark and I did all the heavy lifting last week, so Bill will be the Clydesdale today. And Bill, we had avoided this topic, the Grand Poobah and myself, because there was no new information. But time is drawing near for David Sanders to make his college commitment. I have seen, no crystal balls rolled towards the great city of Columbus. I have seen a crystal ball rolled towards Knoxville, Tennessee. Could you please bring us up to speed on all the time you spent hiding in the last week outside David Sanders' house, bugging his phone, getting all the inside information on your trip? The Dean is back. Please share.
Well, I was in the South, just not the same part of the South that David Sanders lives in. He obviously is in North Carolina. I was at Lake Oconee, not too far from Atlanta, Georgia. Great time there and great lake. We stayed in a house with 5 grandchildren and our kids and their spouses. So it went very well. But I was not quite in David Sanders' territory, even though it was in the South. As far as Sanders, I had said that before I left that I felt like this one was starting to trend to Tennessee. And nothing that I've been told since I've been back has changed my thinking on that. Now, I've only been back for not even 48 hours, but it's in this day and age of the NIL, I never used to say never, and even more so now, because as we know, with the NIL, things can change at the last minute, and on occasion they do change at the last minute and all that. Ohio State has and has continued to recruit him. So has Tennessee. I continue to think it'll be one of the two schools. I think right now, if I had to put a pick in, it would be Tennessee. But again, we're still about 3.5, 4 days, whatever, away from his announcement. We do know now exactly how and when he's doing it. The good news is he's doing it on 247 Sports YouTube channel. And it will be at 12:30 on Saturday. And everybody can tune in here at 247 Sports and watch his announcement. So we will be waiting to see on Saturday at 12:30.
Excuse me. I told Dave for the Monday show I've got a Groucho Marx outfit to wear so no one can recognize us. Look, man, it's a shame if they don't get him. It is kind of interesting how he's not from Ohio, and we've kind of already assumed if we don't get him, it's a loss. It certainly is by the amount of time put in. I guess this next question is going to come up. You guys can both get after it. From the Rod Farva. If and when Sanders chooses Tennessee, who does OSU move on to next? Do they go the flip route since we are approaching flip season? Bill, I believe it's Josh Petty, the other offensive lineman they were in the mix for, chose Georgia Tech recently. Last time I remember Ohio State competing against a recruit for Georgia Tech, it was Jahmyr Gibbs. Kind of wish we would have won that one too. However, could you bring us up to speed on where you think they will turn from a national perspective? And then, Mark, if they have to add another offensive lineman or two or one from the class of 2025, is there anybody to consider? And there may not be. Let's not push it here. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, Josh Petty did announce for Georgia Tech, and, that was going to be Georgia Tech, Florida State, or Ohio State. When you think about Josh Petty, not a huge shock. I had mentioned many times that Josh Petty would make a decision that was not necessarily all on academics, but academics was going to be a very important part of his decision. And he picked an academic school. There's no question. Georgia Tech is more thought of as an academic school. So that's not a huge shock. It is a shock that he had a chance to go to Ohio State, Florida State, and other schools that offered him a scholarship. But again, he stayed close to home, and he went with an academic school. Now, as far as the next plan, if David Sanders commits to Tennessee, I've already been asked this my first day back yesterday a few times, let's say, what would be the next plan? We're all forgetting, well, not everybody maybe, but people are forgetting about a guy out there still that Ohio State has liked a lot. He's still out there, Javon McFadden. He is a very good offensive lineman, and Ohio State offered him early. They've liked him a lot. They've considered him kind of a swing man, a guy that could play anything from tackle to center. Probably not center, but not out of the question. Or I think he'll be a tackle or a guard most likely, but he is still out there. He made an official visit to Ohio State. It is the only official visit he took in the month of June. I do think he's going to take other official visits, but he has let me know that Ohio State has been a school up at the top of his list. So if they could add him, that would be important. I'm not saying that he is David Sanders. There's only one David Sanders out there, but he would be a good addition. Now, besides him, I think that they'll look for potential guys that have great senior seasons. And I think Mark will talk about maybe some Ohio guys that would fit into that category. But I think they'll look at guys, Ohio and nationally, and see if there's anyone out there that has a great senior season. It happens. They sometimes emerge, and they go for someone on that line. I think they also will look for flip possibilities. And then finally, you're going to have the transfer portal opening again in January, and that will be another place that they're going to look as well.
Todd Cowie echoed that sentiment here. Good morning. I know that not getting Sanders is going to hurt, but we can always go after a stud in the portal like we got with Simmons, no question. Marcus, if Ohio State came to you and said, give us a list of 2025 Ohio offensive linemen that had any shot at developing into a Buckeye level recruit, who would be on that list? And if no one's on there, you can tell us.
No, there's a handful of guys. I liked Tucker Caddis from St. Xavier, who's committed to Kentucky. He's a guy earlier in the year that I thought was a road grader. It might be an inside guard, but he's one of the better linemen in Ohio. Jaden Clark, I talked to someone who was at a Northmont scrimmage, and they said he's for real this year. He's the offensive lineman there. He's got a lot of power to him. These are guys that have on the verge of committing other places, but can still be got in Ohio. And like you said, they're going to watch the first 3 or 4 game films of a lot of these players. And then from there, you kind of make a decision to see, can we bring these guys in and will they develop? Jake Cook was one of the best offensive linemen in the class, and no one saw that coming. He really developed over the summer. There's some MAC guys. I'm looking at like 4 or 5 MAC guys that have committed that have some length. And, it's Nolan Davenport committed to Wisconsin. He was the tight end for Massillon that put on a lot of weight and moved the offensive line. He would be an option. He was at the Ohio State camp, so they got a good look at him already. But I don't think these guys are as high as the national players on their board. But, senior season, they're going to look different than they did as a junior with all the extra lifting and, that type of thing. So, yeah, if we're going to play this game, there's a couple in Ohio that have a chance, but I think Bill might be more on the subject of the national guy.
Yeah, here's the one thing I will say when people talk about flipping guys. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult to flip your elite of the elite guys now because in a lot of cases they will have agreed to an NIL package, and that's just another hook that you'd have to unhook. And,
the name Jameer Atkins has come up from Trotwood. I've said he's a kind of a project. Tristan Kyle was a kid from Richmond Heights I really liked that I haven't really followed up on, but he's 6'6", 6'7", 290 pounds. Might be reach a little bit. And then I just saw Robert Smith from Villa Angela St. Joe's. I thought he was one of the better offensive linemen I saw this summer. So as I look deeper down on this, there are names that could bust out. Bill?
Yeah. In terms of talking trash on kids, we're not going to do that. There's some complaints on here that people are doing that about. Look, everyone, there's more fish in the sea. As good as David Sanders is, him not coming to Ohio State doesn't mean they can't put out a great offensive line. It just means we won't have David Sanders on it. That would make it easier to have a great offensive line, but it doesn't. It's not a – come on now. All right. Yeah, Mika Hanna, always up to speed on our in-state guys and is very much into it. I'm going to read one more ad here, and then we're going to get rolling. This is the Pat Murphy special right here. Joy Mode. Sexual performance booster. Don't laugh, Bill. I think I speak for most men when I say, and Bill's just been on vacation, we want to have better sex. And for the sake of our partner, we may need to have better sex. Mark's nodding. The issue is that over-the-counter erection pills contain unregulated chemicals, suggest unsafe doses, and include the risk of several other health problems. That's why we've partnered with our friends at Joy Mode. Whether you're looking to spice up your intimate moments or increase your confidence in the bedroom, Joy Mode makes all natural and science-backed supplements dedicated to helping men perform better across their core functions. Their trademark product, the Sexual Performance Booster, is every man's solution for increased blood flow, firmness, stamina, and performance. Go to usejoymode.com/Bucknuts and get 20% off with the code Bucknuts at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code Bucknuts at usejoymode.com/Bucknuts. Great sex solved naturally. Patrick Murphy recently engaged in Las Vegas. Joy Mode with the assist. So here we going. Bill Baldwin asked this. He asked this of me yesterday, I believe. Dan, why are you saying Sanders is not coming to the Buckeyes? Has he committed elsewhere? He has not. But we are reading the tea leaves, as it were. And look, nothing would make me more happy than all of us being wrong on our intuition and the commitment coming up this weekend being Scarlet and Gray and not Orange Creamsicle. But when the dean weighs in with that kind of general pessimism, that's how we work it. And this is true too.
Dan, more adding a little bit to that. It's not there's no lock, formula that you can say, oh, well, that you put these things into the mix and you come out with a definite decision. There's no thing like that you can go by. But one of the things that I always look at is follow the visits. Where is a kid visiting most often? Now, again, that's not any foolproof formula, but Sanders has been to Tennessee 8 times, at least 8 times. That's a lot of visits, including back to Tennessee at the end of July. Now, I do realize that, Tennessee, is a little bit closer to home, but than say Nebraska. But he went ahead and visited Tennessee again. He did get out to Nebraska. He did not come back to Ohio State. And then also another tea leaf, so to speak, is that where David Sanders is from in North Carolina, that's kind of Tennessee country, so to speak. That's a place that Tennessee has done very, very well recruiting. They've got, I think, 5 guys on the Tennessee roster that are from that same general area in North Carolina that David Sanders is from. So there's, again, you say read the tea leaves, Dan. Those are some of the tea leaves that would lead one to believe, and just the general fact that he likes Tennessee a lot. There's no question. And again, I haven't put any crystal ball in for Tennessee, and I'm not saying he's absolutely going there, but until something changes, and maybe it does, like I said, it could change in the next 24, 48 hours, whatever. Until it does, I will be thinking Tennessee, and we'll see what happens on Saturday.
I'm hoping Ohio State gets one last swing at the bat with the money, to come over the top with some sort of an offer that really drives it home. But that's the type of stuff that you can't account for. I know Dan's kind of saying, but when you talk about, it's probably not a mortal lock, but it's going to take something.
I could be wrong. I'm good at that, but I don't get the sense that that this has been a financial deal down the stretch. Just like I said, I really honestly believe there are certain guys that are like the franchise players that they've already gotten crazy offers. Now, look, I mean, in any job hunt, and I've seen this happen.
You could always make money a factor if it's
I was going to say, you can always come over, like you said, come over the top.
Yeah.
Everyone says money's not a factor until someone takes a big wad of cash and puts it in front of their face. And they're like, this is factoring into my decision now. So yes, that's possible. I don't think we know enough about the situation from a behind the scenes, legit behind the scenes, like only the Sanders and the NIL people know some stuff. All right. There was a question up there I really wanted to get to.
While you're looking, Dan, I will say that NIL is absolutely important in Sanders' decision. I don't consider it the bottom line. I was told it will not be the bottom line, but it is not an unimportant part of the decision. It is important. It's absolutely a part of the decision, but in David Sanders' case, there will be, and it has been, more than just bottom line NIL as the decision.
Yeah, if I was implying that I think the NIL is not important, that was not what I was trying to do. What I'm saying is, once you get to a certain level, if everyone offers you, let's say the max, it's the max. You start deciding on something else. And I would think that David Sanders has already gotten, if people know how to negotiate, a tremendous offer. Maybe they're saving the, over the top wham, bam, thank you, ma'am thing for the end. Look, nothing would make me happier, but I just don't get the sense that's coming, and it could. All right, Bill.
Let's be clear. Like, if you were going to spend money on a player and be right about him, like Bill said, there's the 5 stars that are up here. Boy, I disagree with putting a bunch of money on one player because he could get injured. It could all go bust. But this is the one player where if you slid a few more chips in on your bet, I wouldn't think you were crazy. I'd say, okay, you wanted to drive him home. So that's how good he is, not to tamp down, the excitement on David Sanders, but he is that type of generational player on tape right now.
Yeah, that won't tamp it down if you do that. That's what you call a non-tamping statement.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here, William. Terry Slusher. Any movement on Jerome Myles? Not a name we've talked about a lot, Bill. Who is it, and are they in on him?
Yeah, wide receiver from Utah, 5-star wide receiver from Utah that Ohio State offered a scholarship July 26th, if memory serves correctly, and I think it does. Ohio State offered him on July 26th, and funny you should ask, because right before this podcast, I was writing a story on Jerome Myles. So if you are not a VIP subscriber, become a VIP subscriber right now, because that story is going to be on Bucknuts a little bit later here, not a lot later. It's going to be on Bucknuts soon. And I will say that Ohio State is still recruiting him hard. Ohio State is still one of his top choices. And things are trending positively. Now, I think that you cannot rule out Utah. He likes Utah. That's his home state school, Texas A&M. But things are certainly continuing to progress with Jerome Myles and Ohio State. NIL-wise, they're not going to continue to stack 5 stars on top of 5 stars at wide receiver. We've talked about that before. You need some developmental guys. They've got a little bit in this class of that already, and then they've got kind of a top guy in Quincy Porter. But Jerome Myles would be still a nice addition to this class, a very nice addition. And it is possible, very certainly possible, that he ends up at Ohio State.
I wanted to get to this point too. It's come out in several ways. If anything, the David Sanders recruitment has, I was going to use obfuscated, has kind of cloaked the addition of Carter Lowe. Carter Lowe is one of the top 5 offensive linemen in the class, depending on which ranking you look at. I know in 24/7 Sports, he's the first player ranked outside 5-star. Very good prospect. And we do probably here need to do a better job of hyping up. We know how the in-state guys who commit early kind of go off the radar. Let's remind people, Mark, if we can, how good Carter Lowe is.
Yeah, I have 2 points I want to make. I mean, Carter Lowe is the top lineman in Ohio. He is powerful. He is built wide in the hips and butt, and he can move people. Recently been coaching again with some little kids, and a point I kind of made is we had a really good lineman that when he does his job, he pushes his guy across the field. We have another kid that when he does his job, and he gets pushed and he opens the hole, but it's not as fancy, it's not as flashy, it's not as dominating, but he does his job and the play still works. David Sanders is that flashy type of lineman that he may finish the block a little longer or stay there, but it's not like the job can't be done by other human beings. The job's been being done by other human beings on every other team throughout the nation. David Sanders just does it with a little more flash. He gives you a little more warm and fuzzy that he's the guy doing it because he moves so well or whatever. So could Carter Lowe perform the job just as well as David Sanders? Yes. Every day of the week, he could go in there and pop open holes and pin guys and pass protect, and his guy won't get to the quarterback. But his name's not David Sanders. So you kind of get caught up in this flashy player that I love and we all want, but there are other guys that will get this job done. And Dan said it earlier, it's a unit of 5. And yeah, it's nice to have that 5th guy being Sanders and you feel good about that spot, but we just need the job done, where Sanders might do the job and a little extra. So if that's how you want to look at it, that's fine. But I'd say Carter Lowe,
left or right tackle.
Yeah, and he might be a better run blocker than David Sanders. He's more powerful. David Sanders is a freakish athlete. That's why we love him. We compare him to Tyron Smith, the pass protector, the great feet, but we've never said that, he's this big, powerful. We think when he gets here, he'd be 300 pounds, and then you'd get that power or whatever. But Carter Lowe will drive you off the ball as far as anybody.
You mentioned left or right tackle, Dan. Carter Lowe has been recruited first as a left tackle, not exclusively. That's not to say that he could only play left tackle, but he's been recruited as a left tackle. David Sanders is being recruited as a left tackle too. But if you get both of them, hey, you work it out. You gladly work it out.
I'm trying to find a comment here from Eric Turnbull from earlier. You guys have given us so many good ones today that it may take me a second, but here it is. The best recruiter for Ohio State will be on the field results this season. The run game will eat and the offensive line will thrive. Let it play out. I agree with that statement. Ohio State's Q rating or public relations vibe is going to improve tremendously after we whip a lot of tail this season, that's for sure. And look at the offensive line. There are going to be jobs open at a marquee program. And I would think if they want to go in the portal and get themselves one or two offensive linemen in this next cycle, they're going to be able to do that. And Ohio State is going to be a very, very, if it's not already, and it is one of the sexiest spots, it's going to be ridiculous if this year goes the way we all kind of hope. And I said this to Dave on yesterday's show. Every single time I start to do a deep dive on the squad, I see another reason for optimism, whether it's the way the personnel is setting up, the way the coaching staff is setting up, the way other teams' personnel is setting up. Sometimes things just go in your favor, and I'm feeling very, very good about that.
I was actually, Dan, talking to a source at Ohio State about that yesterday. The general thought from the source was, hey, wait till Ohio State starts running off victory after victory and getting perhaps a national championship. Then you watch what happens with recruiting. It will help greatly.
Oh yeah, and
there's a vibe that Ohio State that's not only the goal, that is going to happen.
And then you're going to also see, keep in mind, we say this every time, and I try and come back to this. Yes, NIL has given people or prospects a short-term goal from a financial perspective, and really long-term, given the amount of money they're getting, but I digress. Every single guy that comes to Ohio State wants to play in the NFL, and they are going to put a ton of dudes. This next draft is going to be the Ohio State Invitational. So that also helps tremendously. There's no longer any position that you can say Ohio State doesn't have a great pro. Thank you, CJ Stroud. We already had a few, but CJ going in there and doing what he's done, I think, is improved. Oh, Carl Price, good question. And Justin Fry hopes you are on point. What about the Armstrong twins? Do you think they'll be ready to play next year, Mark?
Yeah, and Luke Montgomery and those guys will be coming of age, and there will be holes in this offensive line after next year, but that's so far away right now, it seems like, and with the portal and all these different ways to fill those holes, that the future is just unknown, but I agree that I'm seeing the comments. I think the portal is going to be a place we do some playing. The momentum of the season will bring people at your footsteps, and you won't have to go to them. That makes things easier. I mean, who would have thought we were going to get Alabama starting center after last year? Like stuff like that's coming, I have a feeling. I think you guys are on the right track with, Ohio State's going to recruit itself once they get on TV.
Bill, one of your first stories, while you were gone, Trey McNutt committed to Oregon over Texas A&M, he said. But I read your story that says maybe this isn't a done deal in the great state of Ohio. Can you bring us the latest for Darrell Lee Mans II here? Trey McNutt mentioned another visit during this season to Ohio State. Hasn't this ship sailed?
It has not sailed. I'm not
in the harbor.
I'm not predicting a flip, but I talked as I was coming back from Georgia. I talked to Trey McNutt on Sunday, and he's trying to decide if he visits Ohio State again or not. He told me that he has worked with Coach Guerreri, the Ohio State safeties coach, and they have basically planned out an official visit to Ohio State for one of the Ohio State games. And that has been planned out. I say planned out. It has been planned out for a little bit now. Now he just has to decide if he's going to make that official visit to Ohio State for one of the Buckeye games this season. Right now, he said, I don't know. He said, I'm not sure. He said, I've just got to decide. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if I would say I'm leaning one way or another, from talking to Trey that visit happens. But I think it's at least, if you want to see Trey McNutt be a Buckeye, at least encouraging that he and Matt Guerrieri have planned out an official visit. And now the ball's in Trey's court. Do you go ahead and take that visit? And I wouldn't expect him necessarily to say right now, yeah, I'm taking that visit. He's committed to Oregon, and the season hasn't even started yet. So we'll see what he decides.
Keep in mind, for Trey to decide he wants to visit Ohio State, he could wake up tomorrow and decide to do that. It's just got to get in the car and head on down there. So this is not inverted like he's got to get out to Autzen Stadium. And by the way, just for ha-has, let's go whip Oregon's tail just in case he's using that as the arbiter of his decision. We know that no kid really does that, but just to be on the safe side, let's go out there and put on a show. Bill, here we go. There was a rapid fire question here with some names. We're going to finish with this. Mark, you can hop in here and comment after this on the what your thoughts on the Ohio guys are here. But Bill, rapid fire from Mika Hanna, because they love some recruiting. Update on Zahir Mathis, Jamarcus Weiss, Peyton Cook, and please Philip Bell, the dean.
Well, nothing new on Zahir Mathis. He is still committed to Ohio State, but Penn State is still recruiting him. Ohio State wisely did not bring him in on an official visit during June. They saved that official visit for the season so they can get another shot at him on campus on an official visit, kind of the best scenario of all. So that continues to be the same thing. Penn State's not gone away, but Ohio State still has that commitment. Weiss, Ohio State still has not offered him a scholarship yet, so we'll see what happens. That would be kind of a game changer in his recruitment if Ohio State offers him a scholarship. Philip Bell is announcing at the end of this month it's either Ohio State or USC. He's doing it on a yacht party, at a yacht party.
Hello.
As I told somebody this week while I was in Georgia, I'm not sure that in my 37 years or whatever, I've had a recruit make his announcement at a yacht party. But Philip is doing that. And again,
Bill, is that why you put in a special request to go attend the yacht party?
Yes, that's
okay. I'm still waiting for the powers that be to sign off on that, but hopefully we got you. I'm hoping to get you a private jet to fly out there too.
Bucknuts won.
There it is.
He's bringing joy mode with him if he goes to that yacht party.
I tell you what, you get on a yacht party, you don't need joy mode. The yacht does all the work for you. Go ahead, William.
Gosh, who was the fourth name? That question is
down.
The
other two are from Ohio. If you want me to pick it up from Ohio.
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay.
Peyton Cook, yeah. Is it when, not if?
Say that again.
Well, yeah, the when, not if part of it. I was at the Akron-Hoban workout, spring, where Brian Hartline was there to watch Peyton Cook. When the receiver coach shows up to watch your workout, Peyton Cook was already at the Ohio State camp this summer. They're intimately close to that situation up there at Hoban with him. I have to believe that it's like you're saying, maybe when, not if, maybe after the first couple of games. The national board is what I don't know. So I don't know where Peyton slides in there, but on the Ohio board, he's top of the food chain. Okay. And being young like this, they made the kid out of Watkins Memorial wait for his offer. He went to the Ohio State camp as a sophomore, came back as a junior, got the offer. So sometimes this is part of the process just to be sure. Maybe and you say, why did they do that? Well, maybe the 40 time wasn't where they wanted it this summer. And they said, hey, come back a tenth or two quicker or whatever the case may be. But he's definitely a short list guy. Jamarcus Weiss from Trotwood Madison is one of my favorite defensive tackles in Ohio. He is extremely quick, the get off and all that stuff. He gets in the backfield, explosion. He's not the biggest guy. Now, how big he gets over this next year may determine whether he's a load inside or a run stuffer, because right now he's a twitchy get off. But I love his game, and he's another one that's a short list for me. I can't wait to go see him this year and see the difference in his body.
And keep in mind, every Ohio guy we've talked about on this show that has any chance at getting into this class. We will have Mark at his game. There will be a video breakdown of this guy. And it will be the best insight you will get on any of these recruits. Bill will tell you this, that having Mark as part of our Ohio coverage, and I'm not saying this to be braggadocious, it just makes it the best. Just the way it is.
And I might add that we've got the high school football season in Ohio starts not this Friday, but the Friday after that. And Mark and I will be out on the road every Friday night watching these kids, reporting on them. And it all starts in about a week and a half.
I'm going to let you guys go after this. I'm going to read an ad for sunglasses, but school starts. My son starts school tomorrow, high school, senior year. My last child, I figured it out, combining all my 3 kids. This will be our 30th year of undergraduate education, and it's our last one. And then I can just really just dump it all into college funds. But this is going to be a really fun season. I don't know about you guys, but by this time, I'm ready for football season to start. I don't love the summer as much as others. I start to geek out and I get bored and I need real football. And the Olympics for basketball was like a slight like methadone for a drug addict for me. But now we need real football in Ohio. And man, I'm looking forward to the Buckeye season. So there's a little personal edge to that. I'm going to let these guys go. Thank you very much. Programming note. We will be back tomorrow with these guys, not Thursday. Thursday, I got to take another kid to college, so I switched it around with Dave. We will be back tomorrow, Wednesday, and then Dave will handle Thursday. So appreciate my guys stopping by. Those of you that stuck around, I got to tell you about Gooder sunglasses. These things are ridiculous. How many times have you been to an Ohio State game wearing your sunglasses? It's an early morning or a noon kick, and by 6 o'clock the sun's gone down, or 7 o'clock, and you can't find your sunglasses and they're gone forever. That's why you got to get these fire dogs right here. They are silly, and they are reasonably priced at $25. $25 a pair. Gooder, Goodr. Very cool names. As you see, this one is called Call Me Tarmac Daddy. So when we get Bill on the private jet out to Philip Bell's yacht party, he will be on the tarmac. He will be rocking it up. I cannot. Dave Biddle's actually. They gave us 3 pairs. I had to give 2 away. Dave's bought 2 more, and we've gotten some feedback from you guys that have bought Gooder sunglasses. They are definitely worth it. Okay. If you want to support the show and try a pair, Gooder is giving Bucknuts listeners free shipping. So go to Goodr.com, Goodr.com /Bucknuts and use code Bucknuts for free shipping. Gooder also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's Goodr.com /Bucknuts and use code Bucknuts for free shipping. If you are listening or watching right now, you are fantastic. Have a good one, Bucknutters.